What is going on, everybody, and on here? And I want to talk about the Hasbro earnings today. And it really looks like they're kind of backed into a corner, which is a really odd thing to say because the numbers look great. The stock was up 7%. Wall Street loves it. But when you dig a little bit deeper, there's a problem. And I'm going to walk you through that problem. And the problem really is the fact that they're pulling Magic the Gathering revenue forward. So they pulled revenue from 2026 into 2025, or I should say product from 2026 into 2025 to create a massive Q4 that artificially inflated the numbers. And it looks like the more and more I look at the release schedule for 2026, it is strategically set up to be able to effectively stuff an extra set in each quarter. So I'm going to walk through this. I'm going to walk through exactly what I'm talking about. And quite honestly, there are no rules. All bets are off because I want to walk through. I did a video yesterday, I believe, or the day before on Lord of the Rings Commander reprints. Well, now we have other reprints of products that are out of standard. We have products from 2022 that are coming. So those of you who think that just because products aren't in standard anymore, or they're 3 years old, or more than 2 years old, it doesn't matter. There are no rules. Everything that Wizard says is to spin a story to get the uneducated Timmies who play the game to buy into the bullshit. None of it is true. This entire company is a well-oiled machine of financial planning and analysis. And quite honestly, all you have to do is look at Final Fantasy. And I want to go through this anecdote real quick before we get to the numbers. So Final Fantasy Play came out, massive demand, went through the roof. Nobody at distribution had it. The initial boxes were printed in March of 2025. The stamp is on all the boxes, on all the cases. Boxes went up to $220, $230. And WotC created this perception that, hey, there's a shortage of printer capacity and this and that. And we didn't get play boxes for the longest time. Well, then in November, we get all of this Final Fantasy Play product coming. Yeah, the clouds part, the sun comes out, the birds start chirping, and we have product again. And lo and behold, the print date on the boxes is March of 2025. These motherfuckers had no print capacity issues at all. They printed a ton of product initially with the first print wave, and they held it back until Q4 when they needed the revenue. So they neglected the game. They hurt the player base. The price of the boxes went through the roof to the point of pretty much extortion prices for no reason other than they needed the revenue in Q4. And this is a common theme. And for those of you who just don't understand the way that they are playing this game, I kind of feel bad for you. But it is so black and white. It's obvious. So here are the numbers. And obviously Magic the Gathering, $502.4 million. I think it's the best quarter they've ever had for Magic. And quite honestly, I believe the consensus revenue numbers for Magic was like 396 million. So this is a much higher number than anybody projected. And in Q4, and this is one of their big playbooks, they started this with Spider-Man. They brought Spider-Man to market, and then they dumped an astronomical play box reprint on distribution 5 weeks later. Then with Avatar came out 5 weeks later. They dropped an astronomical amount of product on distribution. So they're basically coming out with the set, creating a little bit of perception of shortage, and then they're just dumping the product and hammering the shit out of play boxes on distribution, which quite honestly, it's a reasonably good strategy. In addition, we saw Tarkir Commander reprints at scale. Bloomborough, I think Bloomborough was September, October, at scale. And then we saw the first part of Edge of Eternities, which was reasonably light because they needed to push some of that revenue into Q1 for obvious reasons, because they kind of had it in the bag the whole time. And I know there were some secret layers, but I don't think Q4 was super heavy in secret layers. Again, I don't pay attention to every single one because there's so damn many of them. But this is choreographed to get to they're back solving for an answer, which is how much revenue they need in the set. So when I looked at the number and I saw the analyst consensus for Magic and the fact that they're like $106 million higher, I'm thinking to myself, WTF, like what is going on here? And then it dawned on me, and let me show you. So if we go into Lorwyn, and this is just the Southern Hobby website. I use this for the distro update because it's super user friendly. So right now they only have the draft nights. The set release is released on the 23rd of January. The pre-release was 2 weeks before then, which I believe was the 16th of January, the 14th. Let me look. Wrong way. Yes. So 23rd. Yep. 16th. The 9th. It looks like the 9th was actually the pre-release. So they shipped the product the 5th of January. Well, what does that tell everybody? The product was at distribution, meaning purchase orders signed, payments made, revenue generated in December of 2025. So what they did to hit this number was they strategically scheduled the timing of the January set. If you guys recall, we didn't have January set last year. I guess we had Innistrad Remastered. That would have been about the same situation, but then we had Tarkir. That was the end of March. But in this situation, they strategically bumped this set up into the third week of January because they knew that they needed all of the revenue from this set to go into Q4. Because the way the gap rules work is when you buy product from any manufacturer, the second that you pay for it and you have an obligation to the product, it's your product. You own it. The revenue is now booked. Everything's completed now. It could be FOB shipping, destination, what does the title transfer when it leaves? Wizard's dock, does it transfer when it hits your dock? You're only dealing with a couple days there. My guess is the title transfers when it leaves Wizard's dock, but they carry the insurance and the risk of loss as part of the agreement. That way they kind of get the extra couple days if they need it. And then if you're one of the distributors, you're covered for any risk of loss, such as, what happened with Bandai with the EBO3 stuff, magically getting stolen from one of the ports. So pulling Lorwyn in, now we need to look at the schedule here. And like I said, there are no rules. All bets are off. Anything you think you know about what they tell you, just light it on fire because it doesn't matter. So right now, they have a small Lorwyn reprint coming. They dumped the shit out of Bloomberg play boxes on everybody. Now, they disappeared quickly. Magazine Exchange, PhD are the only two that have any left, and they're extremely limited. But they probably dumped 125,000 plus play boxes on the market because they need it in January. Turtles is coming out. The Amazon sales are going to be anemic. Looks like they've short shipped distribution on this. The numbers are extremely, extremely tight, which is what they had to do. I would imagine that if the price of this goes up a month in, they're going to dump play boxes, or there's going to be a second wave of this stuff that comes out because, they printed more than what they're issuing. But then it comes to Strixhaven. So the beauty of Strixhaven is on April 24th. 2 weeks before that is April 10th. They're able to ship on April 6th, April 5th. So all of the secrets of Strixhaven product is going to be a distributor's hand in March. So Strixhaven and Turtles are going to be Q1 revenue for 2026, in addition to the reprints that we're getting. And then you go to Q2, Marvel's the end of June, all Q2. But I think, is The Hobbit August? Maybe The Hobbit's August. But in Q2, they need a ton of help because all they have is Marvel. And let me see. The Hobbit. TG. When did this thing release? Oh, so it's August. So August is certainly not going to be in Q2, so we don't have that issue there. So in Q2, we should be expecting a ton of reprints to hit in Q2 because ultimately the only set that's going to be hitting in Q2 is Marvel. And you, as you can see here, they basically took Avatar SKUs, Final Fantasy SKUs, put them together, and they created an absolute assload of SKUs for Marvel because they have to push as much product as possible. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus the gift bundles is 11 products for Marvel. So they're going to live and die on this Marvel set in Q2. Now, what I think is going to happen is these play boxes or set boxes, I should say, of Lord of the Rings, Wilds of Eldraine, Ixalan, all these products that were scheduled for Q1. Some of them I think were actually scheduled for December. But again, this is fluid because Wizards is going to ship things as they need to get revenue, they need to hit the quarter. My guess is they're going to push until the end of March, meaning that distribution is, or I'm sorry, the end of April, meaning distribution isn't going to take delivery of them until Q2 when they have to book the revenue because they have the shortfall. Now, let's go into where all of the Timmy's brains are going to melt. So we have this standard rotation. So I actually looked this up and I didn't realize this, but apparently there's no standard rotation for 2026. Let me see if I can find this. So they basically said they're not going to do rotation in 2026 because they did in August of 2025. They're going to skip the year and they're not going to do it until February of 2027. And I think the reason they said was they wanted to get to a normalized year. Bullshit. They pushed the standard rotation very simply. Let's see. So they can reprint this. So they can reprint this. I mean, they're reprinting Lord of the Rings, which should theoretically be out of print, but they don't give a shit because they don't care. There are no rules other than you hit the revenue number, make the stock go up, and fuck the players because they don't care. So these don't rotate out till 2027. This is getting reprinted. This is getting reprinted. Nobody wants these two. This just got a massive reprint. Nobody wants that. This is going to get a massive reprint here in Q1, Q2. Nobody wants it. This came out. It saturated the market. This came out. It saturated the market. Edge of Eternities came out. The market could probably take some more. Spider-Man saturated. Avatar, Last Airbender, they are soliciting a reprint right now. Lorwyn Eclipse, we are getting a reprint in next week. So other than these early sets, the market is so absolutely saturated. Now, there's a couple people today that are like, hey, once things rotate out, you don't get any reprints. Fun fact, wrong. So for XEL, all will be one. Rotated out in July of 2025. We just got boxes of these in October of this year. To make matters worse, and I think I pulled this up yesterday. Let's do this one first. So this is Lord of the Rings. This was a June 2023 product. Here you can see reprint due 2/11. This product is coming out in a couple weeks. So we're getting Lord of the Rings Commander deck reprints in a couple weeks. So those of you who said they're out of print, you don't know what you're talking about. To make matters worse, we got this little nugget today. The starter Commander deck displays, and this was on the reprint list that I started sharing back in September, October. And I thought it was a typo, but it apparently was not. These were released in December of 2022. These products are 38 months old, and they're bringing them back to market. Quite honestly, these are kind of garbage too. But they're 3 years and 2 months old, and they're reprinting them. They're reprinting them because they have to push as much reprint equity into the market. You guys see how many bullshit secret layers are coming out because they have to do it. And people keep buying it, which is a little shocking. So long story short, there are no rules. Hasbro is going to do everything they can to make this number go up. They've already pulled Lorwyn into 2025. So at this point, I don't want to say Ponzi scheme because that has a negative connotation, but you're borrowing from the future to pay your bills today. And it's only a matter of time until that music stops and they get their face ripped off. And that's probably going to happen in Q2 because there's only so many of these reprints they can push out. We just walked through all of the sets that they are planning on reprinting, as far as I know. Now, I guess they could technically go back and reprint Brothers War. They could print Commander Masters if they wanted to. They could reprint Kamigawa. They pretty much reprint anything they want to because, again, there aren't any rules. I just showed you guys the reprinting Commander decks that were printed that came out in December of 2022. They reprinted All Will Be One, which I think was an August of 2022 set. They reprinted that twice this year. So when you're looking at this product, you have to be careful. And as I've kind of been echoing again and again, when the reprints come out for good products, that's when you have to pounce because you're never going to get a lower entry point. But you also have to be careful because nobody knows when that last print is going to be because there are no rules. Those of you who truly believe that they pushed the rotation date for something that has to do with organized play, I wish you the best of luck in life. You're a happy, happy, fragile little snowflake. And I hope nothing ever happens bad to you. But you're an idiot. That is not how they're doing business. And I think the problem is the folks that play the game, they're so emotional. WotC tells people what they want to hear. It's almost psychological warfare where, it's like, these are not the drones you're looking for, right? Pay no mind to, just look at the shiny object over here. And folks, they don't have the ability to critical think and look at what the company is doing. And the video I did the other night, we talked about all the fun stuff they're taking out because they're really drilling into Six Sigma from the standpoint of making products that can be reprinted and printed more efficiently. And quite honestly, it's because they need to make more sets because they've already tested the fence on how much product of each SKU the market will bear until they just reject it. And if this set gets if Magic gets rejected and goes into a bear market, Hasbro is fucked because the stock's going to get hammered. The rest of the business is a dumpster fire, and somebody's going to come in and buy it, and they're going to slit everybody's throat. And that's just the way capitalism works. And quite honestly, it's the way it's supposed to work. Now, the thing that I found the most interesting is there's been all this rumblings that Mark Rosewater has this new game to push out. My guess is it's probably one of the growth strategies is let's try to get another game like Magic, and we'll use, Rosewater to kind of shill it and see what goes from there. It's going to be interesting, but these guys right now, they're a one-trick pony, and we've seen all the tricks, and at some point the music's going to stop. The market's going to be so saturated because when you're trying to go from $1.6 million or $1.6 billion for revenue for Magic to $2 billion, and their guidance was really, really light top line, but the rest of the business is going to contract. There's only so much money that the top 20% of income families are going to spend on toys, which was the most idiotic comment I've heard in a long time. But the bar is so high, I just don't see how they're going to get there because I'm sure they have a strategy to reprint all these sets, create extra SKUs, and then just hammer the market with secret layers. And people are starting to catch on. And the last couple secret layers, the botters have gotten their face ripped off. And if you take out that bot demand, that artificial demand, they're dead. They're absolutely dead. And the problem is they have to print it. They have to sell it. So you're almost playing Russian roulette with what you have to do versus what the market will bear, which is kind of threading the line on the market rejecting. So it's going to be super interesting. Quite honestly, with the stock at 104, I'm guessing it's going to run up a little bit here. Now, the market's due for a correction, but it would not be a bad time to start to layer on some puts here as we get late into Q1, because at some point, again, the music's going to stop and, the house of cards is going to crumble. So anyway, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. I'll actually make sure the link is in the video this time. I guess I forgot it the last couple of times. So anyway, guys, have a good night, and hopefully you guys enjoy this.